parental wounds are emotional experiences we had in our childhood that offered information about our worth and value. Now, when you think about self-esteem, self-esteem is how I think about myself. So because of the way we experience our first 10 years of life, we are going to form a subjective view of ourselves. And this is what shapes who we believe we are. When children feel emotionally disconnected from their caregivers, they may conclude that they are unworthy of love, acceptance, and affirmation. In other words, the sense of belonging is compromised. Mothers give a sense of being because mother is the one who is bringing that child, giving the child life and nurturing that life until the baby is ready to come out. While fathers give a sense of belonging. Now that I have already formed a connection with my mom, when I come out, my father needs to give me a sense of belonging. And this is why it is so important when you struggle with your identity, when you struggle with feeling good enough, you need to revisit your experience with your father. Your sense of acceptance and your sense of self is going to be impacted by the way you experienced the male caregiver in your life. So what causes what we call childhood trauma? And childhood trauma doesn't have to be huge, a huge thing. It is anything that causes a child not to feel valued. And I will show you those needs of emotional needs of children for them to develop a healthy sense of self. So emotional neglect. Now, we all kind of can look back and say, emotional what? Where kulikuwa na mtu, was there somebody who actually experienced in our African culture that experienced emotional, connection with parents? So we can ask that question because in our culture, and I have come to realize it's not just our culture, it's all over the world because the research that has come out about emotional needs of children comes from the West. So that means they have done research in the West and they have found out that these are needs that children have. So emotional neglect, critical and verbally abusive parents. This is very important for us to look at because that causes a child to begin to go into ego space. What is ego space? Is where you are self-preserving, and therefore your emotional development doesn't necessarily happen healthily because you can't express what you are feeling. Children are to be seen, not to be heard. Please visit your childhood. Remember, wacha ku block. Remember, so that you can understand the children you are raising right now, and you realize that what you got and what you did not get, those things, they are very vital to the formation of the emotional self. Because when you are not okay, we normally use the word feel. So there is a fact over here, but we don't say I think, we say I feel. And especially if you are a deep thinker, you are constantly saying, yeah, there is a fact here, but I feel, you see, because we are emotional beings. And especially during our first years, our first 20-something years, 22, 23, we haven't fully formed our logical part of the brain. So we are experiencing life through emotions. It is how I feel. And so it's important to understand that. So dismissing emotions, how many of us, we have told our children or we were told, ulie ni kuonyeshe kitu itakufanya ulie zaidi. You see, we are not allowed because you see, if you pinch me as a child, I'm going to feel pain, and therefore the natural response to that is to cry. And then I'm told, if you cry, I will beat you even more. So you see, we are suppressing and so dismissing the emotions. Smile even if you are sad. Being parentified, becoming the emotionally relied upon by parents, and then being blamed or guilt-tripped. A lot of times our parents would use an, hey, go motiga, you people, you are not giving me any peace. I will go and leave you. So you see that that is a threat that cause us to feel guilty as children. And so we suppress ourselves so that we can feel safe, so that you don't leave us. In other words, we use the word pacifying. Then growing up with a parent who was mentally ill or there was substance abuse issues. So probably 90% of us here can attest to these two, because if you have a parent who has substance abuse issues, the other parent will be more depressed, anxious, and frustrated all the time, or living in fear, because then their partner, whoever that person is who drinks, what happens is that the moment it's coming to be 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, that other parent, they begin to, their anxiety and fear begins to rise, because they are anticipating this person will come home and it will be chaos. Children also will develop that. Myself, I developed that because when they would be in the same space together, they would start to argue, and I would hear the word that the phrase I used to hear, and then I become now, oh my goodness, was, oh, sasa unataka kushindana, bas, nasema bas, leo hakuna kulala. But so you want to also understand, how did you experience that ecosystem at home? Was it safe or was it chaotic? Then receiving mixed messages. So parents who are reactive. So mom, when she is happy, she is so happy, she loves on you, she gives you everything you want. And then when she is mad, it's also chaotic. It is all the way. So you experience your parent in these two spaces with messages that are colliding. We call it dissonance. And then a child is going to feel they do not know what to trust. Are you safe or are you not? You see, there are people who have told me, I have asked my mother, I have asked my aunt, was I really there? Is this really my biological parent? You see, and then we have also children who are exposed to domestic violence, especially the physical one. They develop, or one of them will develop a really severe or persistent mental disorder, because they carried the anxiety of the home, especially the child who would come and stand between the parents and beg them to stop fighting, or the child who would try to fight dad to protect mom. So they watching domestic violence at home can create trauma. Now, what we call PTSD, post-trauma stress disorder, is the reliving of things that happened in the past, not necessarily reliving the experience only, but when you are in your adult relationship and there is skirmish with your partner, immediately you go into self-preservation. So either you are going to act out, project aggression, or you are going to hold in, and maybe sometimes you are going to pacify. Oh yeah, no, I didn't mean it. Please don't be angry, like that. You see, so you are not going to experience a relationship that is adding value. It keeps taking away value every time there is a conflict.